Who is Jesus? Your answer to this question separates you from everyone else. Your answer to this question separates you from the atheist, but it also separates you from the Muslim and the Mormon and the Jew. Not only does it separate us from other people in their own beliefs, but who we believe Jesus is actually separates us from who we used to be, or maybe who you are now. So over the next few weeks, we are actually going to talk about exactly who Jesus is, who he says that he is. Jesus says, I am 7 times in the book of John, and we're going to go through each of those over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to figure out exactly who Jesus is. So last week, Jesus said that he is the bread of life, that literally he is what sustains us, not just here in the physical, but for eternity. Today, we are going to focus on his second statement, which was, I am the light of the world. And so we find it in a couple of places in the book of John. The first is in John chapter 8, verse 12. Jesus later talks to the people again saying, I am the light of the world. The person who follows me will never live in darkness, but will have the light that gives life. This is Jesus' statement that he's saying, hey, look, you're not going to have to live in darkness. This world that surrounds us is covered in darkness, but Jesus says, I am the light. He says, I am the one that brings clarity to everything. I am the revealing of who God is. And so light does a few different things. The first thing is what he's talking about here is it pushes back the darkness. In fact, when we look at what darkness is, it's not really anything. It's the absence of light. So where there is no light, there is darkness. And so Jesus says that, hey, I am the light in the midst of the darkness, and where I am, darkness cannot exist. He says, hey, look, if you follow me, if you walk with me, if you trust in me, then you will never live in darkness, but will have the light that gives life. There's a lot that light does, right? It does push back darkness. Like without light, this video looks really kind of weird. Let me find it. If I turn this off. So yeah, light's important. Also, there's certain wavelengths of light that purify, that actually kill bacteria and bad things. Maybe you've seen those little phone cleaners where you put your phone in the little case and you turn on the switch, and it just under light, it kills all the bacteria. Light purifies, light illuminates, it reveals. Jesus is all of those things. Jesus purifies, Jesus pushed back the darkness, Jesus reveals who God is. He says this in chapter 9, verse 1. It says, as Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been born blind, never seen light, never seen anything. In fact, without light, you can't see anything. You have absolutely no vision without light. And so he was born blind, and his followers asked Jesus, hey, who sinned so that this guy was born blind? Is it his fault? Is it his parents' fault? Why is this guy blind? And Jesus responds, it's not this man's sin or his parents' sin that made him blind. This man was born blind so that God's power could be shown in him. He's saying, hey, look, what happened to him is going to be used to show who God is, to show God's glory and his power through his healing. And so Jesus is using this blindness to teach them a lesson. Jesus says this in verse 4. He says, while it is daytime, we must continue doing the work of the one who sent me. He's saying God sent me to do stuff. God sent me to work. And what do we know that he was told to do? He was told to seek and save the lost. He was told to heal everyone that he came across, and he did it, man. Jesus was on it. Jesus did his work. And he's saying, hey, while it's daytime, while we're here, while we're in the light, we are going to be working. And then he says this, that night is coming when no one can work. And while I am in the world, I am the light of the world. And then immediately Jesus heals this man. He actually makes mud with his spit and the dirt of the ground, and he puts it on this guy's eyes, and for the first time in this man's life, he can see. And why does Jesus reveal himself to be the light of the world, and then later tell his disciples and tell followers of Jesus that we are now the light of the world? Why does Jesus think that this is so important for us to get? And really it's because without light, there is only darkness. And understanding that right now in this world there is darkness, there is brokenness, there is a lot to be done, there is work to be done, and there's a time where that work has to stop. But as long as there's life in us, as long as there's light in our lives, we are to be pushing back darkness. We are to be bringing sight to the blind and bringing freedom to the oppressed. That is what God has called us to do. It's who He said that He was. And then Jesus tells us to follow Him, to be like Him. Here's an amazing thing about light. When you're in complete darkness, you can see the smallest of light. A human eye from over a mile away can see the light of a single candle burning in complete darkness. That's how powerful light is, that there's not an amount of darkness in the world that can snuff out a single candlelight. And so Jesus is saying that, hey, look, I'm the light of the world. When you're stuck in darkness, when everything around you seems broken, when everything around you is dark and it doesn't make sense, focus on the light, focus on Jesus, and you just begin to walk towards Him. You begin to develop your understanding of Him. You grow closer to the light. You follow the light. Jesus is saying, hey, look, I'm the light, follow me, do what I do, push back darkness, bring sight to the blind. Guys, I appreciate you paying attention, and let's jump into the small group.